Yes, I agree, good sir. Yes, I agree. Welcome, everyone,
to
Mere Mortals Meandering. My name is Kyron. I have Juan here with me.
Juan.
Good. And today we'll be talking a little bit nonsense. Sometimes we talk about interesting things, but it's usually nonsense.
It's usually pretty crap. Like, one of the things I would say, and I wish you could see this, is literally a dog walking right now, no leash, no nothing. I don't even know who's the owner. Just going on its way.
Oh, mate, that's non-eventful.
It's not eventful. It's eventful for me.
Eventful for you. I guess it's eventful here in Australia.
It is.
I saw way too much of that in South America. Anywho, meandering. So we're going to be talking about today, for me, a little bit about reputation, a little bit about gullibility, and a little bit about this book here, Not Born Yesterday, by Hugo Mercier.
A little bit about. I like it. I'm going to be talking about aliens. Aliens. I've got some questions about aliens, some thoughts about aliens, and it leads me to my mere mortal moment. So, could we be counting down the days to meet the aliens? Could we be counting down the days?
There's a lot of people out there hoping that's true.
I'm even hoping. I'm even hoping myself. I'm thinking I want to meet them.
I think they're more the probing type than anything else. But
what about you? What's your mere mortal moment?
My mere mortal moment is yes, I agree. So we're gonna. I'll start off with mine, and you even just called it out then a little bit. And this is what talked about. What triggered this meanderings for me, because I was thinking, maybe I'll do this sort of thing. I saw this sort of funny meme today or this last week or something. But no, I'm going to talk a little bit about. So one of the things we do try and do here in the Mere Mortals is watch our own stuff and improve. So I've called you out before of saying interesting a lot. You've called me out for saying like. Other people have called us out for saying all sorts of just random things. Random filler words.
We've called each other out at ums and ahs, everything else in between.
I've noticed actually in some of the latest book reviews, I'm using and as a replacement for which is definitely an improvement. But I'll be talking about something and then I'll have that. So it's okay because it's still a filler, but it's a conjoining filler. Yeah. Anywho, the little bit. So I do say that a little bit, and it's funny because I think there's a reason why, and it might not even be a bad thing that I'm doing that. So while reading this book is Not Born Yesterday, and it's what's the subtitle one?
The Signs of Who We Trust and What We Believe.
Yeah. So I'm going to skip right to the end, where in the conclusion, because I think that summed it up really nicely of what the whole book was about. So let me get here. This book is a long argument against the idea that humans are gullible, that they are wired not to seek truth and overly deferential to authority, and that they cower before uniform opinion. So he was basically saying the thing out there, humans are gullible. And I'll get onto that in a second. I want to talk about the little bits. Yep. And so one of the things he was saying is, and I think you've been noticing this recently with some of your personal interactions, which was default assertive. And you were saying, even just today, you suggested get rid of the a little bit. So this book is a little bit interesting in this regard. Just say the book is interesting. And one of the things with these really strong statements is it can actually be a negative in certain contexts, because one of the things you can do to manage your reputation is if you're wrong and you have used a little bit, or I think, or maybe Sarah is pregnant, maybe this is happening, and it turns out you're wrong. People can get a bad opinion of you if you were very certain and sure in your words. So what he was saying is, in larger contexts, if you're a politician, if you're in a work scenario, if you're with large groups, strong opinions and strong statements without these additional waffle factors, I guess you'd call them. So saying a little bit, saying maybe, saying might, saying I think. They work really well in those situations, but in your interpersonal ones, in the real close-knit ones, if you're saying stuff really strongly and there's more repeated interactions than people see over time, Juan's saying this, he's saying it very certain, and this is certainly, you do this a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
It can have negative effects. Have you thought about that before?
Yeah, I have. And there's a couple of ideas that sort of all clash into each other. And I try to pull out what I think fits best in the mold. So there's the Jordan Peterson style of being precise with your words.
Which, speaking of, man, I've got to find
this. One in there?
There's this beautiful part in this book where he points out Jordan Peterson, even though he's sort of known for being very, as you said, being very
precise.
strong with your words, very... damn it, he doesn't have in the... I'll find it.
Okay.
But there's this one point where he calls him out for being not precise with his words.
Really?
And it's beautiful,
amazing.
man.
Okay, well, what you find out, so basically, that idea of being precise with your words from Jordan Peterson, and the one that I've also tended to hold now for a while, which is I like strong opinions as long as they're loosely held. And I think for me, I find it okay to be more on the side of being precise and being strong with what you're saying. So rather than saying, we're going to talk a little bit of something interesting, or I think this is quite interesting, that quite or little isn't truly, I get the part of it is supporting the more fluffy aspects that, if you're wrong, okay, you could fall back on that and say, okay, it's only a little bit, or I thought, or something like that. But still, your intent is that's your opinion or your thought or your train of thought. As long as you hold it loosely, which is probably the hard bit, as long as you hold it loosely, I would say it's okay to have a strong opinion. So if you go into a conversation and be like, no, I believe that this book is terrible because of X, Y, Z, being precise, rather than like, I think it's a little bit crap, I would give it this, and then you can fall back on it. I think it's better to go that opposite way as long as you can be really good at loosely holding it. So if you have to change your mind, then you can be completely humble and go, nope, I was wrong. This is why. Prove it. Cool. I've changed my mind.
Yeah, I think that's not the problem he's talking about in this book, which definitely that's a problem because if you're very certain on things and you're not being aware of what the truth is actually out in the world and not trying to align yourself to it, you go off down these weird paths where you start believing your own lies, and then that usually ends up in a catastrophe.
In something else, yep.
He was saying it was more on the side of the receiver, because he was looking at the gullibility and communication in terms of receiving truthful statements, and sort of there's a lot to do with game theory, a lot to do with deception, a lot to do with truth and lies, and
I don't know.
that. So he was saying more, you're imposing a cost on other people if they're believing your certain things. Now, most of the things you talk about will be a random statistic you pulled out from somewhere, which, whatever, it doesn't really matter, or that sort of thing. So the costs are small, but I guess if you're consistently doing small costs on someone, on another person, that can have a negative detriment on them.
Yeah, I would also say that then it's dependent on the other human that you're conversing with. Because I'll give you a direct example. I took a leaf out of Gary Vee 2017 here, where one thing he did in the daily V's, I remember him doing, is he went down and interviewed like every single employee he had at the time. And I thought that is a fantastic way to get to know people, right? Just specifically one-on-one, seeing what's going on. I did a similar thing just recently with a lot of my team, and it took out a hell of a lot of time, but it was good. And in one of those sort of conversations, I found like a particular individual, he really enjoyed. He was like, make sure you keep being really front on, really direct, really precise. What you like when you tell me if I'm doing something wrong, tell me specifically, not, you're doing this a little bit wrong or whatever. No, say this is wrong. These are the reasons why. This is how you can improve. And he was like, I love that. I really want you to keep doing that. But another individual was probably on the opposite side, where he was like, I don't being told so directly. I'd like to be given a chance, support me, help me out. So maybe they prefer that fluffier aspect of having the conversations. So I think you have to then choose your words and choose the way that you're communicating with someone, depending on how they act.
Yeah.
But I would set myself as a default of being more precise rather than not.
I think we should clarify that precise for you doesn't necessarily mean true. Precise.
That is true. So for me, it's precise in the whatever I'm thinking is
your intention. That's my
your
intention.
Yeah. So if I say, let's just say something random. If I go like, the sky is green, and I'm super confident on that. So that's untrue, but I'm confident about it.
Yeah.
But I should be equally then happy to then loosely hold that. So if someone says, no, you idiot, like, look, there's blue.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it's blue. Cool. Confirmed.
Yeah. Or you're like, maybe talking about the sky has a green tinge or something like that. Speaking of, I actually have seen the sky green when I was in Guatemala on top of this volcano, and it was the sunrise. I just saw the colors in the sky, which were just insane.
Was it green from the sun?
No,
rays?
It wasn't green from the volcano next to it, which maybe was spewing up a little bit of ash and stuff, which could have
or the copper in the sky or something like that.
Could have been something like that.
Because you know how you can see the green pulse at the sunset when the sun goes down. Have you ever seen that before?
No, I've never seen that.
So in certain places in the world, not everywhere, because I've tried this in other places, but when the sun sets, there is a particular point, and it's going to be by the angle and whatever's in the atmosphere, but there's a pulse of green light when it goes down. Very, very like minute. But you can look up videos and it's pretty really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
talking about Jordan Peterson and being precise with your words.
Yes.
So here's this statement for you. So this is from Maps of Meaning, his book.
Okay.
The constant transcendence of the future serves to destroy the absolute sufficiency of all previous historically determined systems and ensures that the path defined by the revolutionary hero remains the one constant route to redemption.
That is a Jordan Peterson sentence if I ever heard one.
Yeah, and that is absolutely not precise. And he was talking about this book. He was just calling out this one thing because, he's sort of in the news and he's current. But he was just saying, even people who are saying be precise with your words, that sentence there makes no sense. Even he was saying even in the context of it, which maybe it makes a little bit more sense. That's a horrible sentence. I laughed because Jordan Peterson was talking all about, I went over every single sentence in Maps of Meaning like it was an overly produced book. Just like, damn, dude, did you miss this one? This makes no sense.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you call that out as well, because I really agree with Jordan's being precise message. And then I find a lot of his books not being precise, or maybe in what I think is precise / direct enough. Like you could dilute down 3 pages of what you're saying into like one sentence. Which is, he does that really well. What's his name? Escapes me. Oh, well, anyways, there's other people who obviously do that really, really, and that's to me a good writer. That's why I would say Jordan Peterson has great ideas. I wouldn't say he's a great writer. He just plonks down exactly what he's saying basically into words.
I way more enjoyed his lecture series and talks than I enjoyed his book. Yeah, when I read his book for the first time, I'd already consumed 100 hours at least of his stuff. So by that point, I knew basically everything, and reading the book made me go, it's okay, but it's not. Yeah. I'd prefer to listen to it.
Anyway, my view on the like or a few of the other things that we introduce, I think it's an improvement on all those things.
Yeah.
I think it is an improvement, but there's the next level to go beyond there. I think if you listen to really, really good spokespersons or people who give speeches and they're like sublime with it, it's just like faultless, almost like they're reading straight out of a script or something like that. You go, whoa, okay, this is really cool.
Yeah, and that has its place, but then there's also the place for that can be overly produced at times.
Yeah.
The
context of it as well is different.
Yeah, I've listened to some poets, and they're very, very clear, drawn out with their words in a way, creating emotion and stuff. I'm like, man, you could have said that in 1 minute instead of 3 minutes.
Yeah. But look, and sometimes there's a time and place to actually introduce a little bit of levity, like a little bit of happiness to the conversation or to what you're putting together. So like I wrote an email for work on Friday, and it was a pretty lengthy email in terms of summary and some critical things in terms of the delivery timeframes and whatnot. But I introduced a little bit of happiness in there. So, one part of the email I might have said, good morning, and I'll put a little bracket saying, I started this at 11:26 a.m. so perhaps it's not morning, but it'll be afternoon. So some little injections of fun and humor and difference, even though it doesn't add to the actual trail of the email, it gives you a little bit of because there's a lot of content in there to go through, just to kind of offset it slightly. And I found that sort of interactions at work starting to improve some of the ways that we get across, rather than just being very purely direct. So communication matters. There we go. Aliens.
Yes.
Aliens.
Tell me more.
How much do you know about the COVID bill that passed by Donald Trump back in last year?
Zero.
Okay. I know very little about it either. But what I do know is that they passed the $2.3 trillion US. Actually, I'll pull it out. Let me just pull it out because I have it in the notes. So, when President Donald Trump signed the $2.3 trillion coronavirus relief last year, and the government funding the bill into law in December, I don't know if you knew, but also in that bill, he passed it so that it began a 180-day countdown from the day that bill was passed, on which the U.S. intelligence agencies, this is all the intelligence agencies, have to tell Congress what they know about the UFOs.
Okay, I think
you might have
heard
of
that, yes.
So when you start hearing, Joe Rogan talking about aliens, who's been talking a lot about aliens, other people starting to bring it up. There's people who used to work for the CIA and other secretive sort of skunk works and other places, projects in the US, where they're starting to say like, oh yes, this is a UFO. Where they're pretty much formalizing that in June, July. They have to come out and be like, this is all we know.
So the 180 days was
December.
From December. Okay,
so basically June, July, they have to be like, hey, this is all we know. Which is going to be interesting. It makes me think, are they going to really tell them everything? Well, maybe not, but I think that there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out and be like, look, yeah, there's lots of UFOs, by unidentified flying objects that we have no idea what it's about. So that's not to say it's aliens.
Yeah.
But it's to say like, oh yeah, there's all this stuff that we've captured that we have no idea about. But it got me thinking. So obviously that's cool. What it got me thinking is, all right, imagine if you did get to meet the alien, right? So they say June, July comes around and it's like, oh, by the way,
we've got one.
Trump's the alien. Or there's alien somewhere. We've got one. How would you want to interact? Like, if you're the first time you interact with an alien, how would you want to interact with it?
To be respectful, I would pull down my pants and approach backwards, just so
to let them know.
Just to let them know, like if you need to probe me, I'm okay for it. Like
begin in earnest.
Geez.
Like, would you go for a lunch date?
No.
Would you have a game of soccer?
No, I would want to be physically distanced from them. I think I would want to try and communicate via text first.
Text.
Yeah, because I would be worried that they can use, like, if it's like full proper alien, or everything's going out the door. Then I have no idea what they're capable of.
You have no idea what they're capable of.
I would assume that this alien, if it's here on this Earth, it's capable of interstellar travel. So it's got some crazy tech. So whether it has the ability itself in its own body, biological body, or it has things in it or has capabilities, I would be worried, like if I did a phone call with it, it could hypnotize me. I'd be worried if it did it, etc. If I was in person, it could inject me with something or something like that. So I definitely want to be like text, pen pal. We're going to make friends first. Hey, Bob, it's me, Kyron. Oh, Bob, awesome. How was your day in Area 51? Oh, yeah, you probed some people. Awesome. Then once it builds some trust, then I'd maybe organise a date in a public location.
In a public location. Yeah. Ooh, okay. Yeah. My first thought, I had a couple of thoughts. I was like, okay, would I want a lunch date? I think lunch date would be pretty cool. I don't know whether you'd eat.
I don't know. Are you too busy to do coffee? Or?
Ooh, I am, but I can do lunch with an alien. But I thought, actually, best place I'd do it would be a 1 hour gym session, right? Where we have to go shirtless. Okay. So he can't be wearing anything. I want to see his skin to skin or whatever the hell he's got. Or she's got. Or mix has. And yeah, I'd rock up, be shirtless, so you can kind of like be, animal to animal, whatever, species to species. Yeah. And just have a good session. See if they're trained before. I reckon they haven't. Okay. I reckon if they've been interstellar travels, they haven't had to train properly. Okay. So we're doing some heavy deadlifts, some squats maybe. And just have a conversation while you're doing it, like sweating. But I think they'd enjoy that.
Would you worry about getting shown up? What if their gravity is...
I think he'd have to be worried about getting shown up. Or she would be... They would have to be worried.
What if their gravity is 8 times that of Earth, and so you're doing your deadlift, and
they start deadlifting the gym.
And they they just rock up and just start busting out everything.
I think in any case it would be fantastic. Like maybe they would get impressed, you would be impressed.
Yeah, okay.
You'd get to see like the raw animal, the raw species that they are in the flesh. Yeah. And even if they kill you at the end of it,
and maybe their humor as well, because there's usually funny things to look at the gym. There's guys posing in front of the mirrors. There's maybe check out the chick and you're like, damn dude.
Yeah, like
that chick over there, it's pretty good. And alien's like, yeah man, you want me to introduce you? I can hook you up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I think that would be that would be my path forward for an alien. That's the first introduction of it. What do you think though truly is going to come out of this 180-day period now that you've heard about it? How much lies are going to get told? How much truth do you think is going to get let out?
I think there will be a lot of excited people. I think it'll probably take ages for anything to happen, just because it's government interacting with government. So if any reports are released, it's not like it's going to be on that day. It'll be drawn out over a 6-month period. I think people will be discontented with what they find in general. I'm speaking more of the full believers, I guess you'd call them. I'm not sure how many people actually believe in aliens. I'm sure most people would believe in UFOs of some sort. Like if you just said there's something in the sky that someone saw, you're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
Unidentified object. Cool.
I think there'll be discontentment. I think people will still say the CIA is holding stuff back. I think they'll still say, I don't see it. The rabbit hole just keeps going down. If you're in the conspiracy world, if aliens are your thing and you're in the conspiracy world, no matter what happens, I don't think you're going to be happy about it. Yeah.
Here's my follow-up as well. So let's just say you've gone for a gym session or you've texted, whatever it may be. Now you're meeting the alien face-to-face, right? You're coming up close. It's okay. It's safe. Yeah. They're able to communicate with you. You can communicate with them. What would be your logical first question to ask? So you don't obviously don't know how much they know, how much they don't know. I think my first logical question, because I would go, okay, this group of whatever obviously have traveled the cosmos. They've gone here from somewhere else, so they know some sort of travel or what it may be. I think my first question would be, what's inside of a black hole? I think that would be like my first sort of questions, because I would be super interested to know if they knew anything about it, if they use it for like travel or anything, how much more they would know. I've always been super fascinated with like what's in a black hole, where it leads to, whether it's that sort of like wormhole style where it crosses space and some sort of boundary, if universe itself is in a particular shape, or it's just like literally they don't know. I feel like that would be a cool question.
Okay, my first one would be just to establish, like, can you speak English? Can I communicate with you?
Well, let's establish you can communicate. Whatever it may be, you can communicate between each other.
I would probably assume that they're so smart that the best question for me to ask would be, what's the best question to ask? And then, or what is the most pertinent information you can give me? Yeah. Maybe something like that.
Maybe another would be
what I can give you as well. So it's maybe they require, maybe information for them is more of a two-way, equal exchanging of data and whatnot.
Yeah, I think another path forward would be what's the biggest thing I don't know? What's the biggest thing I don't know? Yeah. I think they'd probably come out with some real loopy stuff.
Yeah, or maybe even what are some things that can't be communicated? As in, is it a dumb question to ask about black holes? Because they'll tell you about it. And you'll just be like,
no idea.
Duh.
Yeah. Well, there might be a thing, there could be explanations that's given to you by another entity or person. There's like, even you've given a solution, you have no idea what the hell that means.
Yeah.
Like, and you can imagine this right now with very simple stuff, like at a more basic level. If you were, let's just say, you were year 5 or year 4, like, so you're starting to know, I don't know, very basic things. Someone came and like tried to explain to you how to use like quantum computing or an Ethereum blockchain, something like that. You would someone would be telling you this, and you'd be like, I have no clue. Like, I have no, or like try to teach, I don't know, our mums how to Ethereum blockchains work, something like that. Just be like, pfft.
Yeah.
You might as well be talking another language.
Yeah. Would you still do your gym session if there was a 1 in 100 chance at any moment they could probe you? So like you're going for your
I'd do it if it was 1 in 2. I would do it if it was 1 in 2.
So you're going for like max deadlift, and then there's just a chance you'll get a probe in right in the middle as you're lifting it up off the floor.
Mate, there'd be a 1 in 1 chance I'd be probing him back, or her back.
It'd turn into a snatch if they did that. All right, so I want to talk a little bit more about the gullibility and the reputation. So we started to talk about it. So first of all, do you think, are you gullible? Would you say you're gullible?
I would, if I had to give myself between a range of 0 to 10, 10 being ultra gullible, 0 being zero gullibility, I'd say 6.5.
Okay.
6.5.
Okay, yeah. I'd say I'm pretty gullible. 10 was ultra
gullible.
Yeah, I'd probably say a little bit more than you, maybe 7.5 to 8 range. Humans in general, are humans in general gullible?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we are, for the majority, gullible.
Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting because, I won't talk about the book here. I'll do a better job in the book review. There's 2 things, though, that I found interesting. There's people trying to say what the difference between gullibility is and being credulous. So credulous, I was looking up the definition before, was saying it's more a readiness to believe. So someone says something and you're just, by default, I'm going to accept that. And I would definitely put myself in that camp where if someone says something, I usually don't assume they're lying to me. So straight off the bat, I'll just be like, yeah, okay. Now, gullibility is more being persuaded, and this is where maybe not initially you believe it, but it just takes very little persuasion. The sky's green. Oh, really? Is it green? Yeah, look, I can see like a little bit of green shading there. Okay, that's good enough. Yeah. Whereas some people, you'd need to like get out like a spectrometer or some shit and put on,
be like, no, it isn't.
Kaleidoscopes, there's why it's green, etc., etc. So that was I found that useful because in that case, I wouldn't say I'm gullible. I'm more credulous. I'm ready to believe people just on the default, but maybe being persuaded into stuff, I think that takes a little bit more time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, I would say yes. I'd be more credulous, but less gullible than even on that rating I gave.
Yeah, and that's what I'd say for humans as well. I'd say, definitely credulous. I think most people will believe whatever it is, but being persuaded into it, they're easily persuaded. There's definitely still some, but
there'd definitely be some.
Yeah. The other one is reputation. So We're talking a little bit before about, your reputation if you're saying things very assertively and whatnot. What about in the other sense of what would you do if someone was spreading lies about you? What do you think your reaction would be to that? What actions would you take?
It's interesting. I would say maybe a few years ago I would have been more in the offensive of, okay, let's set things straight. Yeah. Let's clear this up.
Let's have a gym session and clear this up.
And poke each other in the bums. No, it'd be more along the lines of I would have gone out to say this is why it's untrue or this is why they're wrong.
Yeah.
I think less now though, and it gets coupled with the fact of most celebrities or most people who are well known in the media, their number one advice when shit hits a fan or when there's a controversy in the media or something happens, you know what they say to them?
Just go low.
They say, just go low, forget about it, don't engage in it. Anything you engage with, doesn't matter. That's the response that they want. It's attention. So I think I look at it more now in that way where I would probably try and reduce my energy towards that and just keep, when we're talking about reputation, just continue doing what I am doing, at least in its best intent. But if someone came out with a lie, let's just say, and said, Juan on Mere Mortals said that he hates black penguins but enjoys white ones. By poking him in the bum. Now, I would be like, I wouldn't respond to that. I would just continue on my merry way. I wouldn't give any energy. And I think it would selectively, it might go down its own path. And there might be some responses where like, oh, he hasn't replied, must mean it's true. But after a while, it would just die down because there's no energy being injected there from my side or anybody else. Now, no one gives two shits about us, right? We're two mere mortals with a scope of a couple of thousand people who have listened to us. That's fine. But if you're really big, I think, that's going to apply even more and more.
Yeah.
Especially for your reputation.
Yeah. I think it's different if you're in the very social online sphere, and then maybe if you're just a, random Joe average person. It's so hard though. Like, let's just take a semi-common one, which is, let's say, a false rape charge or a rape accusation, I should say, where it's a bit iffy. They were both drunk. She maybe had some regret afterwards, but maybe was willing in the moment, or maybe forgot, you blackout drunk, you totally forget what happened. Those sort of ones where it's a real damaging one to your person. Yeah. I would probably want to have some sort of just statement. That one's real hard because if you're on the online sphere, you could maybe just have a simple sentence somewhere just saying, if you want more info about rape charge, whatever, go to this link, and then you can have a link just saying maybe a video of you explaining it or a single thing, and that's that's one thing. Say. Yep. I address everything in there. Any other questions? Doesn't matter.
Let's just everything. Take it down to something probably not as egregious as that, but just a little bit simpler, but the same principle. Where imagine that Tim Ferriss used to do a lot of book reviews for people and helped out, and now he's not responding to emails. He's gotten a lot of no's. But basically, when you send an email to Tim Ferriss, it's like an automated email being like, okay, look, if it's not this, and you don't meet all of these things, I'm not going to respond to you. And that's like putting forward like a bit of information in terms of, hey, this is my I'm not going to hurt my reputation. Here's the facts of why you're not going to get it. Because someone might be like, oh, well, Tim used to reply to me 10 years ago and now he doesn't. What a stupid boy. But, he's putting out there, you get that information. He's not going to put any more energy into like reaching out or saying anything about it.
If you remember Sam Harris, he used to, in his housekeepings right at the start, I don't know if he still does this. I haven't tuned into any of the last 50 or so. He used to always talk about this sort of thing. This person was saying this about me. And it was getting tiresome after a while.
He has stopped it.
Okay. Yeah, and that's probably a good idea here on his point. What about changing your reputation in a group? So say you're in a group setting and you either want to change that so you're the confident, fun guy, always up for anything, and then you have like a bit of a Zen Buddhist mindset change in your life and you're like, no, I'm not going to be the party guy anymore. I want to be the more serious philosophical guy. Do you think you can change your reputation in a group that you already know, or do you just have to find a new group?
No, I think you can do it with the same group, but it will take time, depending on how much previously you were known by that. Because there'll be no group out there unless they're all bloody monks or something like that, where one day you've been party person for like 5 years and you come back the next day and be like, actually no, I'm a philosopher now. I don't party. It's like, no, you're still known as a party person, and it might take X amount of time for you to be proving that it is that and being the reputation that you've built up. So probably there's probably some equation to how much you've been in that reputation to how long it might take based on, the openness of your friends to actually change that mindset.
Yeah. I think for me, if I did guess, I would say you more have to find a new group. Because I think once you're established in a certain way, people just don't want to see that change. So whether it be your family, whether it be your just, normal, I guess, average Joe friend group, I think there's a reason why you're in that particular group. And so people will be reluctant to accept the change in you. I was talking recently about Roosh and his real conversion. From what I can tell, he basically just jettisoned an old audience and gained a new one with a slight overlap with some
I would just say that is the easier path. I would say that's an easier path. That you can do the other way, I think it's possible, but it's much harder. It'd be much, much harder.
Yeah, and, is it worth keeping on
to
old friends?
Is it worth doing that too?
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think that'll end it there for me.
Nicely.
So that's it for the Meanderings today.
Meanderings.
What do you think, mere mortals at home?
What are you going to do when the aliens come?
Yeah, are you gullible? Are you... I'll test them. What right you should do right now if you want to achieve maximum benefit in life, listen to every single Mere Mortals podcast.
Yep.
And that's the truth.
That's the truth.
That's the truth. Just believe it. Yeah. Juan's heavily winking right now. All right, that's it. Thank you all for joining this far. If you can leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you want to chat with us, Mere Mortals Podcast on Instagram. That's the best place to go. Juan, take us away.
That's it. Mere Mortals, Juan out.
Going out.